Now on paper, this watch should be doing way too much. This is a Rolex Daytona, already the most recognizable chronograph ever made, but this version takes that familiar Daytona formula and pushes into a completely different lane. We're talking 18 karat white gold, factory set diamonds on the bezel, diamond hour markers, and a mother of pearl dial and a leather strap. And usually when you start stacking all of these things into one watch, the results can go wrong very, very quickly. It can become a little bit too loud, too flashy, or just too look at me for most watch collectors. Sometimes when you see factory diamonds, it can be too much jewelry and not enough watch. But this Daytona surprised me because in person, it does not feel like a random iced out Rolex. It does not feel like someone took a Daytona and tried to make it expensive after the fact. It feels balanced, and more than anything, it feels like Rolex doing what Rolex does when they decide to take something already iconic and finish it at an extremely high level. This is the Rolex Daytona reference 116589RBR with a mother of pearl dial and factory diamond bezel. And I have to start by saying thank you to my friend and thank you to Sibley Road Pawn Shop for letting me spend some time with this watch, because this is not the kind of Daytona most people are going to casually run into or get an opportunity to be hands-on with. Most people know the Daytona through the stainless steel models, the Panda, the black dial, the ceramic bezel version, the watches that have become almost bigger than the hobby itself. But this is a different one. This is one that lives in the strange space where it is still very much a Daytona, but it's also a high jewelry Rolex. And that is what makes this watch interesting, because the question with a watch like this is not just, is it expensive? Of course it's expensive. It's a Rolex with factory diamonds on it. The question is, does it still work as a watch? Does it still feel like a Daytona? And does the factory gem setting add to the experience? Or does it take away from what people love about this chronograph in the first place? After spending time with this, my honest answer is this watch should be ridiculous, but somehow it just works. Now, before we get into the dial, the case, the movement, and how this wears, I think we have to talk about what this watch actually is. The Daytona has always had two personalities. On one side, it's the motorsport chronograph. It is the timing instrument. It is the watch connected to racing, endurance, and performance. That is the side of the Daytona that gets talked about the most. But on the other side, the Daytona has also become one of the most ultimate luxury status watches. And this reference leans all the way into that second identity. This is not trying to be the most subtle Daytona. This is not trying to be the purest Daytona. And if you are someone who only wants the clean tool watch expression of the Daytona, this is probably not going to be your favorite version. What makes this watch work is that the diamonds are factory set. There is a huge difference between a Rolex that was designed and set this way by Rolex and a watch that was modified after the fact. Factory gem setting gives the watch a level of coherence. The stones are not just added on top of the design, they are part of the design. The bezel is not pretending to be a tachymeter anymore. It has become something else. It becomes the frame around the dial. And once you accept that, the whole watch starts to make more sense. This is not a Daytona trying to be a still sports watch. This is a Daytona dressed for a different room. For a lot of collectors, once you start getting into this kind of money, they begin asking different questions. Would I rather have a more traditional Daytona? Would I rather have a precious metal Daytona without diamonds? Would I rather have a more collectible steel Daytona? And those are fair questions. So let's talk about the dial and why that is the real story of this watch. I know the diamond bezel is the thing that grabs you first in photos. That is the obviously headline, but in person, the mother of pearl dial is what held my attention, and I could not stop staring at it. And that is not an exaggeration. Every time I move my wrist, the dial changed. The way the light moves across the mother of pearl is completely different from a lacquer dial, a sunburst dial, or even a meteorite dial. It has depth, but not in a loud way. It has color, but not in a predictable way. You get these soft flashes of white, silver, pink, green, and sometimes almost blue, depending on the angle. And because the mother of pearl is natural material, it never looks completely fat. It feels alive in a way that most dials do not. And that is what surprised me most. Even if you took the diamond bezels away, this dial would still stand on its own. And that is important because sometimes watches with diamonds rely too much on the stones to create the drama. But here, the dial is already beautiful before you even talk about the bezel. The diamond hour markers add another layer. They replace the more traditional baton markers and make the dial feel more like a jewelry object. But because they are small and evenly placed, they don't feel overpowered. They don't overpower the mother of pearl. They sit on top of the dial like a punctuation, just perfect. And let's talk about the legibility. This is not the most legible Daytona in the world. No. And that's not what you're wearing it for. Anytime you go with mother of pearl, polished hands, diamond markers, and a reflective precious metal case, you're accepting some trade-offs. Depending on the light, the dial can be easy to read, or it can ask you to slow down for a half a second, which is not a bad thing just to stare at this baby. And for some people, that is going to be a problem, but honestly, I don't think anyone is buying this version of a Daytona because they need the most legible chronograph possible. That is not the job of this watch at all. The job of this watch is the experience. And the wearing experience is exceptionally strong. The dial gives you something to look at beyond just the time. It rewards attention. It makes you want to move your wrist a little bit just to see what the dial does under a different angle. Now, moving on into the case and wear. This is where the watch surprised me again. Because when you hear white gold Daytona with factory diamonds, you expect weight. You expect presence. You expect the watch to be maybe a little bit top heavy or a little precious. That was probably the biggest surprise for me. The watch did not feel awkward. It did not feel like the diamonds made it wear strange. It did not feel like a watch that was fighting against itself. It still feels like a Daytona. You can just feel that DNA. You have the 40mm case, and Rolex has always been good at making 40mm feel wearable. The Daytona case is not overly thick. It does not have the slab-sided feeling that some chronographs can have, like my Tudor Black Bay. It has a shape that is well, especially on a strap. And this is one being on a factory leather strap helps a lot. The leather brings the watch down a little bit. If this were on a full white gold bracelet with diamonds, it might become a completely different conversation. But on the leather, the watch has an elegant feel. It still has flash, but it has restraint. And that is a weird thing to say about a diamond bezel Daytona, but that is honestly how I felt when I was wearing it on the wrist. Now, the factory leather strap gives the watch a more classic precious metal Daytona feel. It reminds you of that older era of Daytona where the strap models had slightly dressier personalities compared to the bracelet version. But my friend had this on a turquoise strap and it completely changes the energy. And I have to say that the strap was stunning. That is one of the things I love about watches on leather. The strap can shift the whole mood without changing the watch. On a black or darker leather, this Daytona feels more formal, more even, more restrained. But on a turquoise, the mother of pearl dial starts to feel even more alive and a little bit more like I'm in Miami and really wanting to stun a little bit. The strap pulls out some of those cooler tones in the dial. It makes the watch feel more playful, more modern, and honestly more personal. And because the case is white gold and the dial has the natural iridescence, the color does not feel random. It actually just connects very well. Now, is turquoise going to be for everybody? No. I can go pink, I can go yellow. I just love this watch on straps. Now let's talk about the bezel. The bezel is where this watch becomes unmistakably different from most Daytonas. On a normal Daytona, the bezel is functional. It carries a tachymeter scale. It connects the watch back to motorsport and time and average speed. On this reference, Rolex removes that visual language and replaces it with diamonds. You lose the traditional tachymeter look. You gain texture, you gain light, you gain this almost architectural frame around the dial. When you look closely, each stone catches light from a slightly different angle. That gives the bezel movement even when the watch is still. But it also does not abandon the Daytona DNA completely. You still have the same case, the same design language, you still have the same pushers, you still have the chronograph layout, you still have the Daytona identity. It is just filtered through Rolex high jewelry lens. Now inside this watch is what I believe is the caliber 4130. I don't have any shots of the movement. And this is where the watch reminds you that underneath all the diamonds and mother of pearl, that this is still a very serious Rolex chronograph. The 4130 is Rolex in-house automatic chronograph movement and has become one of the reasons that modern Daytona is respected beyond just the height. It uses a vertical clutch and a column mode architecture, which help the chronographs start smoothly and operate reliably. And you get 72 hours of power reserves. That 72-hour power reserve is practical. You can take the watch off for a weekend and still come back to its running. And I think that matters here because this is probably not someone's everyday watch. This is likely a rotation piece, a special occasion piece. So having a movement that can sit for a couple of days and still be ready to go is very useful. The 4130 is also known for being relatively efficient in its architecture. Rolex reduced the part counts compared to the previous Daytona movement, and that helps with reliability and servicing. Now, are most people buying this particular reference because of the movement? Probably not. But the movement is part of why this watch works. It is beautiful, but it is still built on the real chronograph platform. That combination is on point. So who is this watch actually for? I don't think this is for the person looking for their first Daytona, at least not for most people. This is for someone who already understands the Daytona and wants something completely different. It is for someone who wants a factory gem set piece, not an aftermarket I-style watch. And it is also for someone who is comfortable wearing attention, because make no mistake, this watch will get a lot of attention because it is just beautiful. But what's surprising is that it does not feel desperate for attention. That is hard to balance and hard to achieve. And that is why I kept coming back to the same thought. This should be ridiculous, but it just works. So after spending time with the Rolex Daytona 116589RBR, my opinion is pretty simple. I flippin' love this watch. Not because it's practical, not because it's the Daytona I would recommend to everyone. I love it because it's beautiful and because it's executed correctly. The mother of pearl dial is strong enough to carry the watch by itself. The factory diamonds add presence without making the watch feel cheap or overdone. The white gold case gives it weight and sheerness. The leather strap keeps it elegant, and calibre 4130 underneath reminds you that it is still a Daytona, not just a jewelry piece shaped like one. But for me, this watch was a reminder that sometimes the version you expect not to like can be the one that changes your mind. I went into this thinking I was going to respect it. I left genuinely impressed by it. And honestly, I could not stop looking at that dial. So that is my take on the Rolex Daytona 116589RBR, a factory diamond mother of pearl Daytona that should be too much, but somehow it is just balanced. Let me know what you think. Is this Daytona done right, or is this too far from what the Daytona should be? And again, big thank you to my friend at Sibley Road Pawn Shop for letting me spend time with such a unique and amazing piece. As always, thank you for watching. If you have not done so already, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help. This is Jimmy signing off. I will see y'all soon.